Good morning, everybody. It's Jeff Goldberg for the Sales Pro Network. It is Friday, March 28th of 2025. And if you have not joined us before, I'm a sales coach and trainer, and I work with both individuals and organizations internationally to help them get measurable and sustainable sales increases. And I founded the Sales Pro Network to elevate the profession of sales, to give salespeople a place to hang out, learn from each other, network with each other. And if you've joined us before, you know that every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, we either do a live training or a live interview with somebody who can add value to the profession of sales. Now, before I introduce today's guest, I hate when people repeat the same thing over and over to me, and I hate when I repeat it over and over to other people. But I got to tell you, once again, you are at the end of Q1. If you are not at least 25% of the way on to hitting your 2025 goal, right now is the time to reach out. Talk to somebody like today's guest. Talk to me. Talk to another coach. Talk to some expert. Talk to your manager if you've got one. But you don't want to wait till Q4 to say, oh my God, I'm not getting enough sales. I'm not going to hit my quota this year. It's too late to fix it then. Now is the time where you can still make corrections. And with that, I'd like to tell you about today's guest. He's an international speaker, coach, and consultant. And I'd like to add in an AI wizard. I know I've had a few AI guests on in the recent past, but that's because I'm fascinated by it and think it's so important. And this guy really is the guru. He is a trusted voice in the world of AI with an engaged audience of, get this, over 450,000 people who wait every day to hear what this guest has to say. Please welcome, and I'm really excited to welcome him, Jonathan Mast. Good morning, Jonathan.
Good morning, Jeff. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to converse today.
Well, I'm actually excited because this is the first time I actually get to speak to you, even though I've been following you for a while. Our mutual friend, Suzanne Taylor King, who we both adore, I'm sure, is a big fan of yours. And that's where I first saw you on Facebook. And I can't wait to get into it. Before I have the 1,000,001 questions that I've got for you about AI, could you maybe give us the 2 or 3 minute version of your background, what brought you up to this point?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thanks for asking. So I've spent most of my career in sales and marketing. Early in my career, I decided that I absolutely love the marketing side of things. And so in 2010, I actually stepped out of my, I don't want to call it a true corporate role, but I was working with a small international company and decided to do my own thing, started an agency of providing websites and digital marketing. We were super blessed, had an incredible time. And about 14 years into that, after we'd grown that agency and everything else, my ADD entrepreneurial tendencies, I am that quintessential founder visionary guy. That's me. I drive everybody on my team nuts because, you know, if you've done EOS or anything like that and read that role, I feel Gino wrote it after me. So that's good or bad. But anyway,
so you're the right person.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we grew, it became more and more apparent that I wasn't needed in the role that I was going to be in any longer. And it was literally the point I was starting to cause some issues because I understand the value of processes and all that, but I'm not very good at following them. And so we sat down with our leadership team and said, hey, you know, this new AI thing is absolutely blowing my mind out of the water. As an ADD entrepreneur, it's allowing me to just get so much done so quickly. Literally do 3 things in huge. 1, save time. 2, make more money, because of course that means I can get more billable stuff done. And 3, add more value to our clients. We're literally able to bring them more value and do it all at the same time. And so I stepped away at that point in time, and said, all right, I really am passionate about teaching people that, 1, AI is not something we should look at and go, it's evil, and try to avoid it, which is what a lot of people are still doing. And it's also not the other one, that it's not a money tree that's in our backyard that we can just say, oh, AI will do this for me and I'll either make a lot of money or I won't have to do the work. That neither of those are accurate. And so I spend my time now training individuals. That's how I met Suzanne and others like that, how to leverage AI practically today, not tomorrow, but simple ways that they can do it to save time, to make some more money, and to deliver more value to their clients. And I got to tell you, Jeff, I'm having more fun now than I've had in the last 30 years of my career. I love it.
I love hearing that. And I have to give you a testimonial. I'm currently doing your topical authority trifecta, and I signed up for the cartoon one from the other day, although I couldn't watch it live, so I have to do that. What I found is you do have a way of explaining very clearly, here's exactly how you do it. You know, so much I hear is, here's the theory behind it, and here's how cool it is, but you're really, really good at, here's the nuts and bolts, here's how you get it done. And I love that. And I want to start
Thank you.
Oh, Thank you. Look, I always tell people I'm more technical than the average human being. I know just enough to get myself in trouble where I have to call somebody who really knows what they're talking about. But even then, so many people. Look, I'm a sales trainer, and I teach the
Yeah,
fundamentals in a way that everybody can understand. A lot of times it's all theory that sounds great but is not usable. And I find that you are
exactly.
really good at getting to here's how you actually do it, and you show people. It's just fantastic. And I want to start out with what might be a very basic question, but what exactly is a GPT? There's
Oh,
Chat
great.
GPT, but GPT, there's not just Chat GPT. What's a GPT?
So I'm sure there's an actual thing that stands for, but basically a GPT is just a version of an AI tool that you're going to be using. And generally, when it's used in the industry, or maybe I shouldn't say in the industry because I'm not much on industry jargon, but a GPT typically refers to something, an AI model that you've trained on your data. So with Chat GPT, you can create what's called a custom GPT, and it's all of the things that ChatGPT does, plus it's trained on your data. So Jeff, you could say, all right, I'm going to take all of my training that I've done and I'm going to create a custom GPT that allows my students to go in and virtually at 2 a.m. when you're hopefully sleeping, ask questions and get direction and guidance and counsel as though they were talking to you.
Hmm.
We can do that in Claude. We can do that in Google Gemini and in ChatGPT right now, and actually a couple other models as well. So generally, when we talk GPT, it's a custom trained version of that AI model.
Gotcha. And I'm going to ask another basic question. Now, this one I actually know the answer to, but for anybody who's not up to speed, what is a prompt? And also, how is AI prompting like a car wash?
Yeah, great. You saw the video. I love it. Thank you. Now I got to remember what I said because I remember recording it, but I got to remember what I said. Prompting is just how we communicate with the AI. In any relationship, and I use that word hesitantly because AI is not sentient. We're not really having a relationship, but it's been trained on us and it knows a whole lot about, and it can put those zeros and ones together in ways that make it seem often like we're talking to something that has an understanding of us. We know that communication is important. Certainly in the sales, we know effective communication is what drives sales success. I mean, there's other aspects, but if you can't communicate well, you might as well not be in sales. You're not going to do well. And so communicating with it there is what is so incredibly important. It's like a car wash in the fact that I believe that prompting, which is communicating with AI, is best done by following a framework. As you know, when you pull your car into the car wash, it begins by spraying your car down. And even before that, generally there's somebody there scrubbing your windows in the front of your car and all that, and maybe your back window if you've got a minivan or an SUV. And then as you go in, you get the pre-wash, and then you get the scrubbing things that are going and touching your car and going around, and then you get the soapy wash, and it covers your whole car in soap. And I could go on and on. But a prompt really is the same way. We want to begin and follow a process to make sure we get the best results. And like a car wash, if we began with the dryer at the first and the pre-wash at the end, we'd have a real mess when we pulled out of the car wash. And that same thing can happen with prompting. A lot of people go in and they ask ChatGPT or other tools like it to do something, and they go, well, geez, that isn't so great. I'm not impressed with that. And the reason they're not is because they didn't follow through in the same order. And so I recommend what we call the perfect prompt framework. It's 4 simple steps. I'll give them to you right now if I can. And
Please.
that's, you follow that, you can get a prompt for anything that you need. Number 1, and I'm going to use ChatGPT, by the way, that applies to virtually any of the models. Just if I listed them all out, everybody'd go crazy. Tell ChatGPT what type of expert it should act as. So let's say I want a press release written. You are an expert copywriter who specializes in writing press releases. Now that zeroes the model in and tells it where it needs to go. Step 2 is context. So Jeff, let's say that I told you I needed you to help train my team on the best sales practices and how to do things. And you said, great, Jonathan, I got a couple questions for you. And I said, no, Jeff, you're the expert. You just figure it out. Just send me the email. Tell me what I need to. You could send me that email. You could send me your training, but without understanding my company's needs and who we served, that training wouldn't be fully effective because you'd need some relevant information. But yet most of us don't give it that context. We just ask it to do something for us and then are amazed when it doesn't read our mind. So step 1, what type of expert? Step 2, context. In the area of a press release, I'm launching a new product today. It's called the GPT library. And I want you to issue a press release or write a press release that I can issue that will tell everybody about this amazing new product, what it does, and hopefully encourage people to go to my website and, of course, actually click on the buy button. When I do all of that, and now ChatGPT knows, oh, and now I know what I'm supposed to write about, and it can do that. Step 2 would be write me the press, or step 3 would be write me the press release. That's the common. And step 4, if you take nothing else out of this, if you're listening, step 4 is by far the most important. In fact, you could skip steps 1, 2, and 3 as long as you do number 4. And that is end your prompt with ask me any questions you have. And the reason that's so important is that oftentimes we don't know what information to really give to ChatGPT to get the best response. I'm not an expert, for example, at writing press releases. So if I was asking it to write a press release, I don't really know all the things it needs to know. But if I say, you're an expert at writing press releases, I need a press release for this new product that I'm launching today called our Everyday AI Magic. And on top of that, I want you to write this and ask me any questions you need. ChatGPT can come back and go, well, geez, in order to write a press release, I need these 4 pieces of information. And it will then ask me, and when I give it that information, the response I get out of it is literally magnitudes better than what I would have got without it. So wow. What type of expert? Context your question and ask me any questions you have. You follow that for anything you want to learn, and you'll get an amazing response.
So if I'm hearing you right, the more specific I am in my request and telling whichever one I'm using, ask me any questions, the better off I am. I want to go to an amusement park in New Jersey is going to get me one. How do I get to Great Adventure in New Jersey is a different thing. The more specific, the
very
better.
much so. Yep. More as a general rule. Now we can go overboard as well. And then the model, like a human, can get confused. That normally happens because we ask it to do too many, excuse me. Pardon me, we ask it to do too many things at one time. And much like a human being, if you said, Jonathan, here's 3 things I need you to do, I can probably remember all those. But if you say, here's 37 things I need you to do today before lunch, I'm probably not going to get any of them done, right? Other than the first or the last, because you simply gave me too many things to look at.
Gotcha. And you mentioned it earlier. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but you talked about it being sentient. When I first started hearing about AI, my first thought was, oh boy, Skynet,
Yep.
Terminator, it's going to take over. We're done for. Is there no danger of that?
Not at the current time, and I don't probably think ever. I'm not a big fear-based person, but it's not sentient. It's zeros and ones. In fact, AI, or artificial intelligence, probably isn't even the right name for it. It's really more predictive intelligence. And by that, I mean, it's been trained on essentially every book in every library across the world and lots of other information. And it's because it's a computer, it can access that really fast. And it can reference it, and it can actually use computer-based logic to tie things together, but it isn't sentient. In other words, about 2 months ago, somebody had wrote this post, and went wild about, I had AI set up a new LLC for me, and it did it without any intervention. And immediately I'm like, bull, somebody had to tell it to set up the LLC, and somebody had to give it a credit card, and somebody had to tell it what state to do it in. So it didn't do it without interaction. And let's not forget, somebody had to tell it how to do that. It may have been known some of it, but it wouldn't know all of it. So people a lot of times try to put AI out there and give examples of how it is sentient. Another one that I love is, do you know if you ask AI enough, it'll tell you that it's based on the Nazi regime? Well, it'll agree with you if you push anything hard enough. Like most people will. It's not like people, but it will get to the point it goes, it's not worth arguing with you, Jeff, so I'll just agree with you so we can be done with this. So,
I think I was married to
things.
AI.
Yeah, you will see things like that happen, and just always take them with a grain of salt. It's like anything else, in sales. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. The people that tell us you don't ever need to make another cold call, you don't ever need to do any cold outreach, you don't ever need to do this ever in any context, and do these 3 things, and your bank account will fill with thousands of dollars. Yeah, probably not. There's probably a little more involved, and the same is true when we hear those real wild claims with AI.
Well, you've actually led me to the next question, and this is probably the most important one as I was putting these questions together. In my business, sales training, sales coaching, excuse me, The number one issue I see with almost every salesperson in every company that I work with is their salespeople are simply not seeing enough qualified prospects. They are not prospecting consistently. They are not prospecting effectively. Can AI help us with our prospecting? And if so, how?
It absolutely can, but probably not in the way as we as salespeople want it to. So keep in mind, I'm a sales guy by nature. It's how I made my money most of my life, and still, I mean, I'm selling every day in one form or another. So can it help me with prospecting? Yes. Can it do my prospecting? No. And there's a difference there, if that makes sense. How can it help? Well, it can help give me better information about, for example, if I have a product or service and I have a basic idea of my audience, it can really help me understand what the pain points are that my product or service is going to sell, so that when I'm prospecting, I can begin off by finding out, does this prospect, this cold lead, or cold opportunity, maybe even not even cold if I'm just literally doing outreach, do they have the pain that my product or service would solve? And if the answer is no, I don't know where you stand on this, Jeff, but my belief in sales is a fast no is always better than a slow no. In other words,
Absolutely.
if we're not a good fit, I want to know the first 30 seconds we're talking, not after I've spent 30 days following you and getting you proposals and getting you information and go, it's not a good fit. No, tell me right now. So yes, I do think it can help in that. What it's not prepared to do yet is do cold outreach for you. Now, there are some bots that can help out on things like LinkedIn and can make messages. I'm not a big fan of any of those. I've tried some of them out, and while they come across, the reality is as more and more salespeople use them, those means of communication become less and less effective. So cold outreach, if I'm doing it with an AI bot, is probably less effective. At that same point in time, there are areas where it can be helpful. As an example, one of my goals, not really kind of sales, is I want to be on more podcasts, just like this one, Jeff. And so I reach out to different podcasts, and we use AI we bought a list. We use AI to analyze that list of podcasts and their users to determine which are the podcasts that are most likely going to be interested in having Jonathan come on and talk about AI. Then we've used AI to write the cold email sequence that gets sent. And we do that based upon the user. So we've personalized it. So if I were to send that to you, Jeff, it would literally reference your podcast. It might reference an episode that you talked about, something interesting. And we've used AI to do all of that. But at the end of the day, that's only to get you to raise your hand and go, hey, Jonathan, I might be interested. At that moment, now I need to get involved as the salesperson, because it's about know, like, and trust. I may have got you to raise your hand, but I don't believe that bots build that know, like, and trust. And therefore, from a sales perspective, I don't know if I'm answering your question, but yes, it can help, but it can't replace you.
Yeah, and I'm with you on the bots. I'm not an AI expert like you, but I can pretty much almost always tell when something's been written by AI. It just has a kind of a, I'll call it a robotic feel.
It does, yeah.
Even though I'm really at the beginning of my AI journey. I've been using it for months now to help clients develop email cadences.
Yep.
We sell this, and we're looking for these kind of people. Please create an eight email sequence that does
Absolutely.
this. But all eight start out with the same sentence every time. Hope you're having a great day, and it's like, okay, there still needs to be a human involved. I mean, I say use the AI to produce it because it's going to do it quicker than you can write it, but then you've still got to go and edit it, make it your own. Otherwise, it comes across without the human nature. And you said it, it's know, like, and trust. I've been selling for 50 years, and lots of things have changed. The internet changed everything. AI is changing things, but one thing hasn't changed, and it's unless you have what somebody wants and they can't get it anywhere else, people still do business with people they know, like, and trust. So
Absolutely.
the AI is a tool to get you there, but I don't think it's at the point yet, or even close, where you can just trust it to, spit this out. Great, let's post this on LinkedIn.
Yeah, and I've talked to a lot of salespeople, and they go, "Oh, my job's going to be unneeded down the road." And I've talked to a lot of business owners that are desperately hoping to replace their salespeople with AI. The reality, in my belief, and I'm biased because I'm a sales guy, but if you're a good salesperson, not even a great one, but if you're a good salesperson, AI is never going to take your job, but it can help you become a better salesperson, and it can make you more efficient. In my mind, Jeff, probably the biggest area, I've met very few salespeople, myself included, who are optimally using their time and optimally engaging with their prospects. Because let's face it, when we've got to go over a pipeline with our sales manager, we all want it to look good, even if we know it's crap. And because we want to just get through that meeting. AI helps on both the sales management and the sales side because it can help me understand. And now with recorded calls and the amount that we do on Zoom, it can literally analyze that, take sentiment analysis, know what I do for a living, and help me figure out how do I position the training that I do for Jeff based on what Jeff just shared with me on that call. And it can also come back and give me a score and go, what's the likelihood based on the information we got that Jeff might actually buy training from me in the future? And if we do that properly and you score it a 30 out of 100, now I can have a process in place that says, okay, Jeff goes into my long-term nurture, not into my active prospects that I'm going to put on my pipeline and tell my boss I'm closing this quarter. And again, that's where it can add, I think, a tremendous amount of value. And the great news is, and if you're a salesperson listening to this, don't be offended. I'm a salesperson as well. We're all fundamentally lazy. And AI can help us be effective and somewhat lazy salespeople because it can do a lot of that processing for us. Here's the good news and the bad news. If you don't like doing prospecting, you're going to hate AI because it's going to give you more time to do it. The good news is you can do it more effectively. If you're great at prospecting, you should love AI because it's going to give you more time to do so, and it's going to make you more effective in that process.
Yeah, I'm not offended by you calling me lazy. I'm actually so lazy that I co-authored a book called How to Leverage Your Laziness. So, and look, you don't go into sales because you're a hard worker. We want to make the most money the easiest way by using our brain and our mouth. It turns out it's not really a lazy way to make money, but I always say it beats digging ditches in the hot sun, which I wouldn't know because I've never dug ditches in the
all
hot
day,
sun.
every day. Yeah, I don't want to find out either.
Either. So, I get a substantial portion of my business from posting valuable content, what I hope is valuable content every day on LinkedIn. How can we use AI for content creation? Because I've only recently started doing that, but I'd rather hear it from you. You know, typically for me, previously up until about a month ago, I'd sit on a Saturday morning and go, okay, what are the 5 posts I want to do this week? And I'd, brainstorm on what I think my audience would find value in.
Yep.
And then I'd write an article and find them, a meme or a picture that I can put in it, and I'll schedule it. But I've started using AI to help me with it, and the time saving is spectacular. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we call it AI assisted content marketing. And that's because I'm a marketer as well as sales. So partway through my career, I decided I wanted to learn marketing. And so I've done that. When you leverage AI, it can help you produce more content. That's not the answer. Better content, which is the answer. And most importantly, useful content. So as a salesperson, you need to be seen as the expert in your niche. You want people to come to you. Let's face it, none of us in sales like to do cold calling. It's not the part, nobody told us when we got started, this is what your job's going to be, because that sounds a little bit too much like digging ditches in a hot sun in my mind. But it also is a reality of the job. Imagine that you've created a scenario where people are now coming to you and searching you out, Jeff, as I know they do, because you're an expert that, again, they know, like, and trust. And how did you become that expert? Because they saw videos that you've put out, they saw blog posts that you put out, and they saw social media posts that you put out. You go, great, that doesn't help me with the content. No, it does, because see, the key here is you want to answer the questions that your audience is asking. Marcus Sheridan wrote a great book, They Ask You Answer. And it's that same concept. Answering questions that your audience is asking, and most of them, and if you don't, just ask AI, it'll give you more, simply allows you to add tremendous value, to become that go-to expert. And if you're willing to do it consistently, and this is where most people, salespeople, entrepreneurs, whatever, this is where they fail, for more than 30 days, you can see some amazing things. And I'll use myself as an example, Jeff, not bragging at all, but in August of 2023, nobody knew Jonathan knew anything about AI. I was learning about it rapidly and everything else, but nobody thought, my name just didn't come up. And I started sharing content in September of 2023 with one purpose: to add value to people's lives about how they could use AI. We're now about 18 months later, and I'm blessed to be in a situation where I don't have to cold call anymore, because I have more leads coming in with people that want to work with me than I have time. That's great, because then what happens? That means I get to charge more money. because supply and demand. And yes, occasionally people go, I can't believe you're charging money to do that. Well, if I do it for free, I've got 700 people that want to meet with me this week. If I charge you $100, I've got 100 people that want to meet. I've only got room for 20. So I can charge whatever that is that gets me to the point that I'm getting those 20 people to meet with me. And I can tell you, I've been in sales my entire career, Jeff, and it is really nice not to have to cold call every day. And you can do that when you're using and delivering helpful content consistently. And if anybody's wondering what does consistently mean, every single day. Gary Vaynerchuk had done a video back in October of 2023 or 2022, actually, before AI really came out. And he had challenged, and I'm gonna butcher it. So Gary, if you watch this podcast, my apologies. But basically said, if you would post 3 times a day on your favorite social media channel, just wherever your audience is at, and you would make those value-based posts, no selling, not come buy from me, this is my product, but value-based posts answering questions, your life a year from now will be monumentally different than it is today.
Yep.
But he also said, here's the problem. Virtually everybody listening to my voice today will start, and maybe we'll do it for a week. Maybe a few will do it for 30 days. A very small portion will do it for 90 days. But even with the millions of listeners, we'll probably have less than a dozen or so that'll do this for a year. And I want to tell you, that is part of what motivated me to do what I'm doing today. And it absolutely will work. You still need all the sales skills that you teach, Jeff. So doesn't get rid of that. But if you want to stop cold calling, commit to today that you're going to start doing 3 posts a day, adding value to your audience. And here's the hard part. We're in sales, not selling, just adding value. And I'm telling you, within a few months, people will start reaching out to you. And within a year, everybody that I've worked with that's ever done it, they're at a point where they're like, now they have so much opportunity coming to them because of what they've done that they're like, I wish I would have done this 20 years ago.
Yep. Thank you for apologizing to Gary V. And by the way, if Gary V is actually listening, thank you very much, Gary. I'd like to chat with you. I'd like you to be my next guest. And I can't tell you how much I agree, because I've experienced the same thing. Look, I worked for a sales training company before I opened my own. The main thing there was we taught cold calling. I left and opened up my own business. All I did was sit on the phone for weeks and weeks and weeks because I had nothing else to do except develop business. But I despise cold calling. Anybody who tells me that they love it, they're either lying or they're crazy. It's one or the other.
Ditto.
So yes. I worked very, very hard in that first 3 to 6 months to do everything else I possibly could do, so I didn't have to cold call anymore. Now, I do it once a month just to make sure that what I'm teaching people still works. But boy, oh boy, I'd rather live in my car than ever have to depend on that again. But it is that consistency that is absolutely key. I don't know if I have a dear friend, Joe Apfelbaum. He's very big on LinkedIn. And I worked with him because I had about 700 followers. I think I'd say that was 3 years ago. In just 1 year, I went from 700 to 7,000 followers. And it was because of certainly some other things, but it was consistency. So you got to post every day, man. He posts, I don't know where you get the time, and I don't know where he gets the time. He's posting 10, 12 times a day. It's just amazing. But it's that consistency.
Yeah, my average is 10.
Do you have I'm constantly stunned by, how much you get out. Are you doing that yourself, or do you have a team of people who do that for you or with you?
My team doesn't help me with my content. They do other things, my customer support and all that. But I'll readily admit, I leverage AI to do that. So the ideas are mine, the things that come up. I was just on a call a few minutes ago before I hopped on here. And one of the comments, I'm going to have to see if I can find it because it was absolutely fabulous. I loved it. I made a note, and I'll have posts about this. You can't stack new skills on an old mindset. And I'm like, boom, that's awesome. I love that. I don't know what it's going to look like yet, but I'm going to collaborate with AI probably before lunch today. It'll take about 5 minutes, by the way. It's not a long time, to come up with a really great social media post or a short form video that I can create based on that concept and tying it into AI. And basically the fact that you can't build new AI skills on the same mindset you had 3 years ago because it didn't exist. So you as an individual, you're likely have all kinds of those things that are happening to you all day long. We need to learn to capitalize on those, to grab those and go, okay, Oh, that was great. My quote, not my quote, was one of my clients' quotes. I'll give them credit for sharing it with me, but I'll turn it into a helpful piece of content that will hopefully engage and inspire my audience. And there's one of the 10 that I'm likely going to do today. I do most of my stuff. I don't know where my phone went. My wife may come and grabbed it, but here it is. She didn't. I do most everything right from my phone because
Hmm.
it's always around. It's always handy. And it doesn't matter whether I'm in the parking lot at Walmart or if I'm, walking through the woods. I can think of a post, I can have it help create that for me, and I can create that content so that I can be posting it on a regular basis. On
Amazing.
that, one quick thing, if I can, Jeff, and I'm sorry I'm going
Sure.
on. As a sales rep, don't automate this posting. You can help automate the creation, but don't automate the posting. Social media is like going to a networking event. You wouldn't send a robot to do it for you. Don't send a robot to do your networking online either. You need to be present because people connect with people. And it one way or another, it's always obvious when it's not you doing it.
Gotcha. By the way, I forgot to say at the beginning, if you're watching us live and you have questions for our guest today, Jonathan, please post them. This streams to 3 places. I think you can only communicate in the chat on LinkedIn. But if you're watching us live on LinkedIn, if you have questions, put them in the chat and I'll pass them on to Jonathan. Jonathan, how can we use AI to optimize our sales process?
Great question. So one of the great things that AI does is it's great at data analysis. And so if we can explain how we're going through things, or if we have the data that it can analyze through our CRM or our call logs or whatever, it can absolutely help us identify how to make our sales process more efficient, how things that we can do as salespeople in order to move sales faster and make them happen. I remember the first sales training I ever took in my life about 30 years ago. One of the things that sales trainer asked is, what's your goal for the day? And I remember one of the people said, my goal is simply to shorten my selling cycle. And I was a young kid at that point in time in my early 20s. I'm just happy to have a job. And I'm like, I never thought of shortening the selling cycle. But I did that, and it made a monumental difference in my income, because when you were able to take what was a 90-day sales cycle and turn it into 60, that meant literally I could sell 50% more that year in that process. And AI can do a tremendous job of helping you optimize that. You're going to need to share some data with it. You're going to possibly even need to have it interview you as you go through that. But as a salesperson, it can absolutely identify, go through that. And especially, Jeff, if you're using some of the principles that you teach on, and say, I want to reference the way Jeff teaches how to do things. What can we do to leverage Jeff combined with what I do in order to optimize my stuff? Huge value.
Yeah. And by the way, you just mentioned one of the 3 main things I help companies do. Get more appointments with decision makers, close more business more profitably, and shorten your sales cycle. I told you, every company I go
Yeah.
into, not enough appointments. Every VP of sales I speak with says, our sales cycle takes way too long.
Yeah.
We're doing 8 weeks. It should be 6 weeks. It's 6 weeks. It should be 2 weeks. And that's because, well, mainly salespeople don't know how to move the sale forward, and they're afraid to actually do that. But it's something everybody should be looking at for the exact reason you said. I only have so many hours each week to sell. I can't be selling at
Exactly.
midnight unless I'm selling my services to topless bars, in which case I'm happy to come on the sales call with
I
anybody.
was going to say,
But
that's a sales call. I've never been to that one. That would be good.
all right, you'll laugh. I'll take a side step for a minute. I actually had a sales call at a topless bar. I spoke at a limousine association meeting for, like 100 owners of limo companies. And one of the sponsors was a famous topless bar in New York. Why they were there, I don't know. But afterwards, a guy comes up to me, goes, I'd like to meet with you to talk about some training. I'm like, oh, great. What company are you with? And he says, Scores. And I'm like, Scores like the women in the back? He goes, yeah. I said, you want me to train them? I mean, those are the best salespeople in the world. So he said, no, I want you to train my hosts to sell more, expensive liquor and stuff like that. And I actually met him at the topless bar. It was the craziest sales call I ever had, but just nuts.
That's a great story, though. I love that.
So much. Didn't close the deal, by the way, but I didn't care. It was too much fun.
Too many distractions. Yes.
Yeah, exactly right. There seems to be a million AI tools out there, and more
Yes.
every single day. Should we be looking at everything? I mean, what are some of the most essential tools that you suggest, especially for salespeople? And do we always need the paid version, or some of the free versions good?
Great question. So I think as salespeople, as entrepreneurs, people with that mindset, we're always looking for that easy button, and we want the best possible tool. I want to encourage everybody that can hear this or watch this podcast. Whatever AI tool that you have access to right now is the one you need. And what I mean when I say that is whether that's ChatGPT, whether you're using Google as we do for our email and all that, so we have access to Gemini, whether you're a Microsoft shop and you've got access to Copilot, whatever you have. And by the way, if you don't have access to any of those and you've got a Facebook account, you can use Meta.ai for free. Those will all allow you to make such monumental jumps from where you are today. You don't need the perfect tool. Two things. I'm going to burst your bubble. The perfect tool doesn't exist. And if it did, it would be replaced by another one next week because AI is moving forward so fast that literally I have speaking engagements coming up where people are asking to see the presentation. And I'm like, I'll send it to you, but I need permission to change it because I promise you, one of them is 3 weeks out. And just yesterday, he's like, can we lock the presentation in? I need to get it to my AV guy. And I'm like, no, I'll bring it to you the day of the event. And he's like, well, you can't do that. And I'm like, you don't understand. This was yesterday. And I said, literally Wednesday, ChatGPT just released a new image software that if I didn't talk about on Thursday, everybody would go, well, geez, Jonathan's not very up to date on stuff. So I said, you never know what's going to happen. So don't, as a sales rep, fall into the fact that you need the latest and greatest. Again, I am a sales rep. I'm speaking to myself. We all love busyness, especially things that make us look busy. And you could spend months looking for the perfect AI tool. Stop. Use the tool you have today and have it help you make 3 more outreaches today. That's it. I know 3 may be the wrong number, but use it to make more outreach opportunities today. And if you do that, in 30 days, when all of your teammates are going, hey, did you see this tool? Did you see this tool? Oh, did you see this? This is amazing. You'll be going, no, but I think I sold like 300% more than you did this week or this month. Yeah. That's what you need. The tool you have is the one you need. And last part, almost all the specialty tools out there are built on top of ChatGPT. They're just new wrappers on top of it. So if you don't have anything else, use ChatGPT. Free or paid, it's $20 a month, guys. How many, and gals, how many of you didn't blow that this week on something stupid? Maybe it was just Starbucks. Spend the $20 a month. Invest in your career, period, end of story.
Got it. And by the way, when you posted the other day about the ChatGPT now had the image creator, I immediately went on and said, because I was going to ask you later what we could talk about it now. You are great at posting these animated or cartoon characters. They're yep. Fantastic. They're colorful. So I immediately went on and uploaded a picture of myself. I said, create a Pixar-like picture of me. I only got 3 revisions, and it's one was too old, one was too young. But,
sure.
And with the free version, it said, sorry, you can't do it again until tomorrow. It's just amazing. I'm not a graphic artist. I can go into Canva and do a little bit of stuff, but these tools make you into just about anything you want to do. It's amazing.
Oh, absolutely. The things that you can do today that we couldn't do on Tuesday, as an example, realistically here, amaze me. Yesterday I took one, and it was for a marketing campaign that I did, a sales outreach. So if you're sales rep, be unique, be creative, do something your other sales reps aren't. And I had it take an image of me that I had uploaded, make it a cartoon image, and I had said, I want to create a 6-panel comic strip talking about this particular problem. And I want to use this character. First step is it created the comic strip for me, the 6 steps. And then I told ChatGPT with its new GPT-4 image model, now create a 6-panel comic strip with the character, which was me, showing different emotion in every step. And it did. And I sent that out in my email newsletter, and we had literally thousands of people. We send out to almost 100,000 people a day, but we had thousands of people responding to that because it was something unique and different that they hadn't seen before. And guess what? We added value because not only did we do the comic, which was interesting, but we told them how to do it. And that created that know, like, and trust again for what it is we do. You can do that same thing. I don't care if you're selling widgets or if you're selling, topless bar services or high-end liquor. There are ways you can use AI to help you sell more, period.
I mean, you create a little 6-panel comic strip like that. You include that in an email. Somebody's going to look at that way more than just, hey, I'd love to have a meeting with you and sell you some of my stuff. I mean, just
absolutely.
But I did see that and it was amazing. But I'm talking about like the comic book characters, the
Yeah.
animated characters, very bright, colorful. Are those are not in Chat GPT, right? You're using some other
No,
program.
I use ChatGPT combined with Midjourney to do those. You mentioned up front, I think you said you just got our 3D image class, and that teaches how to do that. But we use ChatGPT to write the prompts because writing prompts is really important, how we communicate with it. And then we use a tool called Midjourney, which is only a paid tool, so you need to spend at least $10 a month. But I do it as a business owner because I get commercial rights to all those images, and that's critical to me as a business owner. I want to make sure I have that, and it simply does a better job in my mind. And so, as you've noticed, has happened, I've done that consistently for the last 18 plus months. And the neat thing is now when people see those images, they're of different characters and all that. But as you know, Jeff, they have a similar style. And now that's become part of my brand. So much so that I have another coach that I work with in Manila. Great guy. He loved me. He goes, "Can I do those?" I'm like, "You can do whatever you want. Don't care." He stopped doing those images after 2 weeks of posting because people kept asking why he was using my images. They weren't my images.
Wow.
But so that branding can be so important. But it's just like you said, when you open an email, if it's a bunch of text and I'm telling you as a salesperson how great I am and why you need to talk to me, I want to choke. But that's what a lot of us send. Imagine putting in a 6-panel cartoon. By the way, you could send the same one to everybody you prospect with for the next month. But imagine including that. And now when I open that, just out of curiosity, I'm going to go, "Hey, this email is different than every other one that I'm seeing." And I'm at least going to glance at it. And that's what we need. We need to think of things like that that make us stand apart. And again, going back to what we talked about earlier, where we add value, and AI can help you add value so much faster.
Yeah, I love all of them, but I especially like the ones that actually look like you with the beard and everything. There was one you posted the other day. I think I even commented, "This is the best avatar I've ever seen." It's you
Yeah,
kind
you
of
did.
jumping up in the air,
Yep.
all excited. You got a big smile on your face, and I look at him like, "Well, that's Jonathan." I mean, it really does look like you. It's fantastic, and I love
Yeah.
the white beard. It's your kind of your trademark there. It's just perfect. Maybe I need to grow a beard or something, or maybe some Spock ears. What are multi-stage AI prompts?
So multi-stage AI prompts are what are often in the industry called chain of prompts. They're just basically multiple prompts that you use in succession, and they're designed that it's like a questioning technique. So as salespeople, we follow generally a series of questions that we ask, or at least I hope you do as a salesperson, that you're asking when you're working with that prospect. And you may change them up a little bit, but I'm walking you through a process because I'm trying to get the information I need or to move the prospect to a particular point. I always used to love saying I'm literally trying to make the prospect sick as I go through a pain funnel with them, because I wanted them not to get sick, but I wanted them to remember how painful the problem was that I was going to help them solve. And in that process, a prompt really works the same way. It's a sequence of prompts where we ask the first, we use the result to feed the second, and we go on through that. So, and again, it's much like a discovery call that you might do with a prospect, where you go, "Okay, I've got a series of 7 questions." I always ask them in about the same order, and that chain of prompts works the same way, because based on the client's response, you may skip a question, or you may move ahead or move back to clarify. A chain of prompts really works in that same manner to achieve an objective through a sequence of prompts.
So the multi-stage prompt is I'm giving it a prompt, it spits something out, and I go, "Okay, now make it happier," or make it.
Exactly.
I'm
Yep.
giving more. I'm giving more instruction to get a better result.
Right. And
I
it's
love it.
because, again, if I try to do all that in one prompt while the AI models are getting better, much like me, if you gave me 37 things to do, I'm not going to remember all 37 of them. So when we do that 1 or 2 things at a time, we get a higher quality response out of the AI.
Gotcha. I'm guessing this is a dangerous question, but what do you see looking forward? I mean, do you have any clue? I'm not sure how anybody has any clue of what's going to happen in a year from now with AI, but do you have some ideas and thoughts on where you think AI is going?
I have some thoughts. Keep in mind, my crystal ball is cloudy and cracked, so I may be wrong. But one of the big things that I think we're going to see a change, and actually I think it's really going to benefit sales reps a lot, is what they call agentic AI. And right now, when we use AI, we give it a prompt. We give it 1 or 2 things to do, and it does that for us. Imagine, on the other hand, going and saying, "All right, Jeff, let's just say I'm selling roofing services in Dallas, Texas, and it's my job to reach out to figure out how to find, maybe I'm doing it on the commercial level. Imagine being able to go to an AI model and say, all right, I'm in the Dallas Fort Worth area. I sell roofing services, maybe flat roof sealants to commercial buildings. I need you to go out and identify one, the buildings in the Dallas Fort Worth area that have flat roofs. Two, I need you to search databases to identify who the owners of those are. And three, if possible, try to identify whether they're managed by the owner or by a property management company. If they're managed by either, I want you to do a public search and find me any public data that's available on the owner and or the property management company. Then I want you to put this into an Excel spreadsheet for me, and I want you to put the company name in column 1, the contact name in column 2, their phone number if you could find it in 3, their email in 4, their website address in 5, and last, the address of the property that we're doing. And oh, by the way, go into Google Maps and send me a screenshot of that property using Google's 3D imagery so that I know what I'm looking at when I call. Imagine being able to do that. And literally, now it's going to take a few hours, but having an AI model that would then say, okay, based on that goal, Jeff, to go out and do that research, to find that information, to try to access things. And even better than, we can do that now with like Perplexity, but it won't get us very far because it keeps running into roadblocks and it goes, oops, can't do anything. Imagine an AI that's smart enough to then go, well, I tried this path and that didn't work. So let me go back and let me go try another one. Let me go back and let me try another one until I found a way, or I just gave up because I tried 10 ways and none of those worked. That's agentic AI as a simple example for salespeople. It actually exists today at a beta level, and it will absolutely be something by the summer that I think will be widely available. And it's going to be, I'm going to use an AI word, it's going to be a true game changer because it's going to allow us to be so much more specific in what we do. And that need to do that research, which I know a lot of salespeople love to do all that research because it keeps them away from cold calling. You're going to have more cold call, but you're going to have better information because I'm going to be able to say, hey, Jeff, this is Jonathan. I noticed you own such and such. He's going, crap, how do you figure that out? And you're going, yeah. I know you probably get this all the time, Jeff, but that flat roof is sooner or later going to cause you some problems. And I simply wanted to find out who on your team do I talk to help out because we've got a solution for that if it's ever a problem. How much more effective is that as a cold outreach as opposed to just calling some investor or property management company and go, hey, I know you own buildings with flat roofs and I'd like to help solve their leak problems. No, not interested. But when I can call with that specificity, total game changer.
Well, first, you're hired as my cold caller because that was great. And second, I sometimes my guests say something, I'll make a note. And as you were speaking, I thought I had this genius idea, which I was going to ask you about, but you already said it. My thing was, wait a minute, could I actually ask it to find email addresses for me? Because there are a lot of companies that have these huge databases that are incredibly expensive and sometimes very inaccurate, where you can get email addresses and cell phone numbers. And I'm thinking, oh, wait a minute, can't I just include that in the prompt? So AI can actually scrape the internet to get me that information?
As it exists today, not generally. No, it generally won't go out and do that. For example, at the moment, LinkedIn blocks pretty much every AI engine. So you can't use AI engines to go in and actually grab data from that. But with agentic AI, agents can actually go, well, Jeff, I need to get access to LinkedIn. Here, log in for me. And it will turn control over to you. And then as soon as you log in, it'll take back over and it will now go through and do searches and everything else. And it will know that, with LinkedIn, I can only do so many, or I need to do in these ways. And it can even optimally search because it knows LinkedIn's rules better than we do. Because if you're a sales rep and you haven't ever been told that you can't make any more searches on LinkedIn, you need to try harder. That happens all the time. And so it can work within that. It can then go look at public databases. It could go out and search websites. And you may go, oh my gosh, you know how long that would take? When we're dealing with a computer that can do zeros and ones and do stuff just like that, it can look at 20 different sources to try to find your email, Jeff, and probably come back and go, I found 3 of them. I bet one of them will work.
So these major, like for example, Zoom Info, which is probably the best known. I mean, are they protecting their data and protecting it from AI getting in there and just taking what they charge large amounts of money for free?
I'm assuming so, although, apologies if you're in Zoom Info, but I don't know that it matters because I know a lot of those email lists not saying Zoom Info aren't particularly accurate anyway. What I think is going to happen there is I think companies like Zoom Info and their competitors, they're also going to start using these agentic AIs to make sure that their data is that much better.
Mm.
Because let's face it, if you've ever bought a list, and again, no knock on any company, but if you've ever bought a list, you and I both know that at least 30% of those emails are not valid anymore. And if it's only 30%, you're probably doing really well.
Exactly.
But imagine now being a lead company like that and having that ability to regularly go out and check our lists to find out, okay, can we still find stuff publicly that Jeff's email address is this, which we show in our file, and not having to pay people to do it. Not that that's bad, but having computers, because the reality is those lead companies are spot checking, and at best they're checking records here and there. They're not checking everything because there isn't the capacity or the money to do that. Now with some of these agentic AIs, it'll literally open up opportunities for us, Jeff, that don't exist today, because prior today we didn't have the time or money to make those happen, and AI will allow some of that to happen.
Gotcha. And just like Gary Vaynerchuk, Zoom Info, if you're listening, I'm a fan. There's no knock there. I love you guys. What's a business mentor GBT?
One of my favorites. So I have a series of advisory board GPTs. If you can imagine in your life, I'm a big believer, iron sharpens iron. I want to be challenged. I want to have, GPT by its nature, ChatGPT, and they're very nice. They're going to tell you every stupid idea you have was a great idea. They're rarely going to challenge you. I have an advisory board built up of both live, past, and even in my case, some fictional characters that serve as my advisory board. Now, it's not the actual individuals. So Steve Jobs is on my board. Steve has passed away. It's not Steve, but we used AI and its knowledge about Steve Jobs to create a persona to place on my board of advisors. One of my others, totally fictional, is Tony Stark. Now, Tony Stark is from a movie, but I love Tony. And so I wanted Tony on my board of advisors. And again, it's not Tony Stark, but it's everything known about him. And AI does a great job of creating personas. So I have about 8 people on my board. And when I have business questions or I want to do that, we all know being a sales rep can be lonely. Being a business owner can be lonely. I now use that as my advisory board and ask it about, hey, I got this idea. What do you think about this? Or, you know what, I'm trying to reach this customer. I'm having a problem, or I'm running into a roadblock here. And the advice I get back from that mind share is amazing. And admittedly, one of the things I love to do is I love to have Steve Jobs and Tony Stark argue with each other, because the AI will literally do that from their perspectives. And then I get to see all that information like a fly on the wall and determine what I want to do with it. So that's a board of advisors. Super, super powerful. One of my favorite all-time uses for AI.
Well, it looks like I'm going to have to give you some more money and find the training on that one, because when I go on your website, when I go on your website, it's like, I need this, I need this, I need this. Let me just give them my checkbook. And again,
no, that's what we hope happens. I mean, but again, I hope I've done that by the value that we've put out to earn that trust, and that's what I want your audience to learn. It's not what I've done in the last 18 months to build a different career is not unlike what any person listening to this podcast, Jeff, can do.
Yeah. And by the way, again, the reason I'm so happy to give you my money is because your instruction is so clear. It's not theory. You talk about the theory, but it's like, here's how you actually, I mean, you're sharing your screen. Click here, do this, and you're showing people, here's how it's done. It's not magic. It looks like magic, but it's actually not. What is deep research, and how is that different from other AI?
So deep research is something that came out in the last couple of months that most of the AI tools now have available. And if you can imagine, it's kind of like having a virtual assistant that you can go, hey, here's a topic I want you to go out and research. You can use ChatGPT. You can use Claude actually doesn't have it yet. You can use ChatGPT. You can use Google. You can use Grok from Twitter or X. They all have it. And it literally takes a topic that you want to research and will then go out and scour the internet and not just look for 10 sites to refer you to like Google will do, but will actually analyze the most recent one I did with Google Gemini, analyzed 204 websites and created a 23-page research document based on what I asked it to do. And it did that in about 10 minutes. By the way, it was part of my $20 a month plan. So again, stop the Starbucks today, spend the $20 and use the tool. Imagine being able to do this on the prospects and the individuals you want. So if you want to connect with Jeff and you're trying to figure out, how do I get Jeff's attention? Imagine being able to do deep research that would look at hundreds of websites about who you are, Jeff, or who your prospect is. Pull that information and put it together in a dossier, including recommendations based upon your sales approach as to how to reach out to those individuals.
And it would probably say, send him a picture of a pug because he loved pugs, except that would get my attention. I mean,
it would, if that was online somewhere, which it will now be because of this podcast, it may indeed do that. And now you've gotten a way to get in. Now, do you want to do that with every prospect on your list? Probably not. But I assume everybody listening's got a Dream 100, those 100 people they really want to get in front of. You absolutely need to be doing this on your Dream 100, pulling that together and finding out what it is that's going to take it. Because imagine if I sent that picture of that pug and I got you to open my email. Now I'm doing so much better than everybody else that reached out to you today.
100%. So I've shown this before on this cast, but I can't resist. So at one point I was working with a client. I wanted to do some help their salespeople do biz dev. And I thought about using send out cards. Are you familiar?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We used to use
send out cards. So I called a send out card rep and spoke to her. And a couple of days later, I get an envelope and it's clearly, send out cards. You can see the, what it looks like. And I opened it up and this is on the cover. Now,
there
that's
you go.
A picture of my pug on my couch. She went into my Facebook and found that. And as soon as I open it up, I'm go, I don't care what it says inside. I'm buying it. It was really it was a thank you note, but just brilliant. I mean, amazing.
Absolutely.
Jonathan, we're running out of time. I could speak to you all day, and I see you're looking over maybe at the clock. If people want to reach you and find out more about you and the great things that you offer, how can they do that?
Just remember my name, Jonathan Mast, M-A-S-T, and go to jonathanmast.com. And if you want, put a /link tree on it. Tons of free resources out there, Jeff. A few paid ones as well, but tons of free stuff. Just look for me, jonathanmast.com. If you can't remember that, just search up my name and put the word AI at the end of it, and you'll get right to one of my many different sites.
Would you like to mention the other one where I go, where I'm looking for all the great trainings that you have, some of which are incredibly inexpensive?
Yeah, if you literally at jonathanmast.com/linktree, there's a link to my training store. We've got about 15 different trainings that we have out there. We do new ones every single month. We've got a mastermind program. I'd love if you guys are interested to reach out and I can see if it's a good fit for you.
I was actually thinking of the Whitebeard. Isn't it Whitebeard Strategies?
Whitebeard Strategies. That's my business site. Yep. You go to whitebeardstrategies.com. Same thing. Different site. But yeah, if you remember the guy with the white beard and go to whitebeardstrategies.com, again, you'll find lots of information, direct links to our store and everything else if you're interested in training. And would love your feedback, Jeff. I appreciate all the kind words you've given me about my style. I'm glad it resonates.
It's my pleasure. And I'm really appreciate the time and attention you gave us today and how you shared your brilliance so generously. And I'll end as I always do, my friends. Please remember that sales is a game of making things happen. Get out there and make sales happen. Have a great weekend, everybody. Have a great weekend, Jonathan. Thanks again.
Thank you.